Within the shadow space, Yang Xinxin replied, Nash Kingdom's building materials do possess greater resilience than those found elsewhere. Especially the materials used in the loop corridor, they can withstand epsilon-level impacts. This material is intriguing. I think it warrants further study. Lu Karen added eagerly, Brother, if we could develop this material, it would undoubtedly serve a great purpose in the future. For 2.5 years since the apocalypse, the mutants had remained the world's most powerful and unique humanoid weapons, proving extremely difficult to restrain. But that was only because humanity's research into them remained incomplete. Clearly, over the long ages, the Three-Eyed Clan had developed countermeasures. Hearing this, Zhang Yi, though eager to find Liang Yu and the others, drew the holy judgment instead. This time, he didn't use his supernatural abilities. Instead, he relied solely on the power inherent in the submarine dragon armor, aiming a fierce slash at the white wall. Crack! The blow split a small section of the wall, and the fallen material was absorbed into Zhang Yi's shadow space. Store it away for now, Karen. You can study it later. But time is critical, we must find Uncle Yu and the others immediately. Otherwise, their lives could be in danger. At that moment, Yang Xinxin spoke up. Brother, there's no need to panic over this. If I were that mysterious guardian, I wouldn't target the weaker ones first. Zhang Yi's earlier urgency eased slightly upon hearing these words. Xinxin, what do you mean by that? Yang Xinxin explained, You're letting your concern cloud your judgment. Because you care about them, you assume they're important. But to the general of Nash Kingdom, they hold no significance. What matters are you guys, the epsilon-level mutant. Even if his goal is to eliminate them one by one, I doubt he'll give you time to regroup. Therefore, targeting the epsilon-level mutant first is the optimal strategy. So, brother, if you haven't been attacked, it proves that Teacher Liang and the others are safe. Zhang Yi halted in his tracks. Hearing Yang Xinxin's explanation, he couldn't help but concede it was the most logical conclusion. Because if he were in Nash's position, he too would choose this course to maximize battlefield efficiency. Then, are we just supposed to wait here for him to come find us? Zhang Yi lifted his head, gazing up at the dome stretching hundreds of meters high. This vast space resembled a chamber within a palace, yet it dwarfed any human structure Zhang Yi had ever seen. The surroundings were a blank expanse of white, stretching endlessly beyond sight. If there's no communication signal here and we can't use Space Shuffle, we'll just have to slowly search for the others' locations. Yang Xinxin rapidly processed the situation in her mind before pointing ahead. Brother, exit through the main gate up front. From now on, whenever we reach a fork in the path, take the right turn. The vast Divine Spirit Temple was so vast that even the giants of the Three-Eyed Clan could easily lose their way within it, let alone tiny humans barely over a meter tall. So for Zhang Yi at this moment, this place was nothing but a colossal maze. He and everyone else were searching for the right path, and for their companions. Yang Xinxin advised Zhang Yi, when navigating a maze, if we can't gather any information, we should keep moving in one direction. That way, we'll eventually find the exit. Alright, I'll do as you say. Zhang Yi was now floundering like a headless fly, with no better solution. He could only follow Yang Xinxin's advice and fly forward. Fortunately, Space Shuffle still worked within this area, though it couldn't penetrate walls made of this special material. Soon, he reached the end of this vast space, a magnificent white door. Opening this door proved unexpectedly difficult for Zhang Yi alone. Just then, Flower let out a mighty roar, transforming into a massive, muscular form. Biting down on the door knocker, it helped Zhang Yi pull the door open, one on each side. Right, that's it. Let's keep moving forward. Zhang Yi led Flower directly toward the next set of doors. Soon, they had traversed 5 rooms. Gradually, he began to sense the palace's environment. Some rooms were spacious and likely corridors, while others contained massive tables and towering decorative pieces along the walls. But suddenly, a peculiar fluctuation emanated from a specific point within the Divine Spirit Temple, spreading throughout the entire structure. Zhang Yi, the burial master, Lancelot, Gao Changkong, and the rest of the team searching for an exit simultaneously sensed this intense disturbance. No one could resist this force. It felt like an irresistible pull from the depths of their souls, compelling them to approach and claim whatever it was. The source of God. This aura was all too familiar to Zhang Yi. The aura of the source of God had appeared within the Divine Spirit Temple. Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed instantly. Is this the treasure within the Divine Spirit Temple? No, it can't be that simple. Compared to the spirit of sacrifice, the source of God was merely a substandard item possessing only the function of a key. Anyone who had encountered both substances could discern this clearly. Back in the Demon Kingdom, they had once found the source of God within the 9-story Demon Tower. Yet, the majestic royal palace of Nash Kingdom could not possibly regard such an object as its most treasured possession. But then, why had its aura suddenly appeared? Zhang Yi murmured to himself, could it be that someone else found the source of God, unlocking the vault, sealing it, causing the aura to leak? This possibility was highly plausible. After all, hadn't everyone come here for the very purpose of seizing the treasure? If they were scattered across different parts of the Divine Spirit Temple, it was natural that some luckier individuals might find themselves near the treasure vault. Yang Xinxin, however, offered a different perspective. This is highly unusual. The source of God is an exceptionally rare treasure. When banishing us, the other party would have meticulously avoided areas housing it. In fact, they likely ensured we had no chance of encountering it at all. Even if someone discovered it, they would immediately reseal it, not broadcast its presence so conspicuously. This point also gave Zhang Yi pause. He asked, Xinxin, what do you think? Xinxin replied, it could be a trap. Deliberately luring you there. At this, she murmured to herself, that's very strange. Clearly, the Guardian initially separated you intentionally. This logic is contradictory. Unless. Zhang Yi asked curiously, unless what? Yang Xinxin said, unless his goal was to delay you, or even provoke conflict between you. Zhang Yi frowned. I have no intelligence on the Divine Spirit Temple right now. We can only act based on the limited information before us. Regardless of their motives, we should first investigate the direction from which the source of God's aura emanates. Even if there was genuine danger, his abilities could ensure his survival. Besides, having chosen to descend underground, it was impossible to proceed without any risk. After pondering for a moment, Yang Xinxin agreed with Zhang Yi's reasoning. That's wise. If we can sense the source of God's aura, others surely can too. Then we can use this as a gathering point. Zhang Yi and Flower were already heading toward the source of the energy fluctuations. After passing through several more rooms, they suddenly spotted a door ajar. Zhang Yi's gaze instantly sharpened. Looks like someone beat us here. He and Flower stopped outside the doorway. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, putting his body on high alert, ready to strike at any moment. Then, pistol in his left hand and sword in his right, with the giant-sized Flower following behind, he stepped through the door. Inside, he indeed spotted a familiar figure. A monk clad in a deep crimson robe, long hair cascading down, barefoot upon a floor as smooth and white as jade. Who else could it be but the Undertaker? Recognizing him, Zhang Yi held his ground, not rushing forward. Encountering the Undertaker here was undoubtedly the most perilous situation. Not only did the Undertaker possess a staggering 20,000 point-blank chariot-level combat power, but more crucially, he could draw upon the tantric faith energy emanating from Sangha Temple on the surface. Engaging him in battle meant that unless he could be instantly killed, that faith energy would continuously fortify his body, rendering him nearly immortal and indestructible. Facing such an opponent made combat virtually impossible. Ahead of the Undertaker, monks like Deiji from Sangha Temple stood transfixed around a high platform, their eyes filled with rapt fascination. Upon that platform rested a transparent crystal case containing a yellow crystal that emitted a soft, intoxicating glow. This object was all too familiar to Zhang Yi. It was the source of God. Did the people of Nash truly place something so crucial here? Zhang Yi felt perplexed. Surveying his surroundings, he noticed numerous identical platforms besides the one holding the source of God, each displaying various objects. Some were fossils of bizarre creatures, others held ancient weapons and armor. This place was a display hall, housing the royal family's collection. Zhang Yi suddenly understood. Is the source of God merely a collectible to them? This discovery left Zhang Yi utterly speechless. Could it be that the three-eyed clan didn't know this object could forge an Epsilon-level powerhouse? Deji, who had been about to collect the source of God, immediately grew cautious upon seeing Zhang Yi. Lord Chaos, you're a step too late. We found this source of God first. Zhang Yi replied calmly, not late. Not late at all. Behind him, a colossal shadow rose like a human figure before transforming into a massive door. Through the doorway, Zhang led the Paji family's mutants into the palace. They fixed their gaze on the source of God displayed on the platform ahead, their weapons pointed unapologetically at Deji and his group. Though they now faced the threat of the three-eyed clan within Nash Kingdom, no one forgot the ancient, mortal enmity between the Paji family and the Yashi Langtai clan. Zhang and his kind would never stand idly by while Deji and his group claimed such a sacred artifact. Deji's expression darkened instantly, his intent to rush forward and seize it first. Zhang Yi raised the white eagle in his hand. I advise you not to make any rash moves. Feeling a terrifying aura of death envelop his body, Deji froze instantly. Zhang Yi sneered coldly, when was it ever your place to act on your own initiative here? His meaning was clear, among everyone present, only he and the Undertaker had the authority to decide the source of God's ownership. The burial master gazed at Zhang Yi with serene eyes. His pupils were as deep and vast as oceans, seemingly containing infinite worlds. He slowly raised his hand, performing a gesture of respect like a Buddha plucking a flower. Lord Chaos, now is not the time for internal strife. You have already gained considerable benefits. Should you not now yield it to our Sangha temple? Zhang Yi replied indifferently, I was entrusted with this task and must fulfill it. Since I've seen this object, it is destined for me. According to your Buddhist teachings, you should facilitate a good deed and yield it to me. What's this? Have monks lost their purity now? When facing the three-eyed clan, they could unite against a common enemy. Yet their relationship remained far from friendly. The Paji family had entrusted him with preventing Sangha Temple from gaining greater power beneath the abyss of demons. Of course, more importantly, Zhang Yi genuinely desired that the source of God. He commanded many talented individuals. Whether it was Lu Karen, Liang Yu, or Yang Xinxin, they were all top-tier geniuses. Their supernatural abilities were capped at the Delta tier. But Zhang Yi understood that if they could break through to the Epsilon realm, their power would explode. In the future, Zhang Yi needed them to become his right-hand men. Not like now, where he was essentially dragging the entire team forward. Only Yang Xinxin, Zhou Qi, Yang Xia, and Lu Karen, those with high intelligence and powerful support abilities, could truly provide assistance on the battlefield. The burial master sighed softly. Layman, you are attached to appearances. His gaze upon Zhang Yi was filled with compassion, yet carried an inexplicable, elusive quality. Yet that gaze alone felt like a bottomless pit, sucking one in with a single glance. Zhang Yi frowned, about to speak. The next moment, his eyes snapped open. He lifted his head to see a pristine white ceiling. The scene felt vaguely familiar, yet it seemed like ages since he'd last seen it. Zhang Yi felt soft warmth beneath him, he must be lying down. It took him about 5 seconds to recall where he was. What he saw was unmistakably the ceiling of his own home. Yes, his home, that 3-bedroom apartment on the 24th floor of Yuelu neighborhood in Xishan district, Tianhai City. Zhang Yi sat up on the bed, feeling a bit dazed. Freshly awakened, his head felt heavy and foggy. His mind seemed filled with complex and vivid memories, yet after waking, they were rapidly fading away. Some faint traces lingered, but upon waking from a dream, one tends to forget most of what occurred within it. A warm sensation came from beside him. Zhang Yi squinted and glanced over. Gentle sunlight streamed through the window, softly illuminating his bed. Am I awake? Or still asleep? Wait, isn't the world supposed to have ended already? Is this a dream? Zhang Yi rubbed his face hard, but when he opened his eyes, he was still in his nicely decorated home. He sat up in bed and shuffled over to the window in his slippers. The black aluminum window, warmed by the sunlight, felt pleasantly warm to the touch. Though he cleaned regularly, a thin layer of dust still clung to the surface. A swipe of his finger left a smudge on his index fingertip. Zhang Yi gazed out the window, squinting slightly against the glare. Everything felt so real. Suddenly, he couldn't tell which was reality, this moment or the apocalypse etched in his memory. Zhang Yi pinched his thigh hard, immediately wincing and gasping sharply. Shit, that hurt. So was I really dreaming just now? For some reason, a profound sense of loss suddenly overwhelmed him. Because the lingering fragments of the dream seemed filled with thrilling adventures and people who had walked alongside him through long years. Zhang Yi felt lost for a moment. He walked over to the sofa by the floor-to-ceiling window and collapsed onto it, utterly drained. Closing his eyes, he tried to fall back asleep. It felt like once he woke up, everything he saw would become real. Whether this was a dream, or everything he had seen before was a dream. It was always easy to drift back to sleep. When he awoke again, it was already past 10 in the morning. He was roused by his phone's alarm. Zhang Yi reached for the device on his nightstand, the familiar feel of his newly purchased Huawei Mate 600 Pro. The caller ID displayed his girlfriend, Fan Yuqing. Zhang Yi quickly answered. He and Fan Yuqing had been officially dating for half a year, their relationship going very well. They plan to get married around National Day next year. Hey, Yuqing. A soft, pleasant female voice came from the other end, tinged with gentle reproach. I've been calling you for ages. Why did you take so long to answer? Aren't you home? Zhang Yi hurriedly replied, I'm home. Then why didn't anyone answer when I rang the doorbell? Zhang Yi rubbed his throbbing temples. Oh. Hold on a second, I'll come open the door right now. Sliding his feet in slippers, Zhang Yi rushed to the entryway and unlocked the door. The door swung open to reveal a girl dressed in a white dress, wearing Gucci shoes, and carrying a Chanel bag. It was Zhang Yi's girlfriend, Fan Yuqing. Following behind her was her close friend, Lin Keining. Though not quite as beautiful as Fan Yuqing, Lin Keining had always been kind-hearted. Because she was acquainted with Fan Yuqing and Zhang Yi, she had also become a friend of Zhang Yi's. The two girls lugged in a bunch of groceries, grumbling as they kicked off their shoes and stepped inside. We agreed to come over for hot pot this weekend, and you sleep like a pig. Couldn't wake you up no matter how hard I tried. Zhang Yi could only smile apologetically, admitting he'd overslept. The two girls paid him no mind, carrying the groceries into the kitchen while continuing their chatter as they began washing vegetables. Zhang Yi sat on the living room sofa. Normally, Fan Yuqing never let him touch cooking. She'd once remarked that having a man in the kitchen every day would invite ridicule. Watching Fan Yuqing and Lin Keining behind him, both already wearing aprons and washing vegetables, Zhang Yi suddenly felt this kind of life was exceptionally beautiful. A powerful sense of happiness enveloped him. Yet for some reason, this happiness felt slightly unreal. It was like the sunlight streaming through the window onto his face, hazy and indistinct, as if shrouded by a sheer veil, obscuring the true nature of things. He thought of that dream again. The details of the dream were fading fast, including the faces of the people within it, growing blurry. A moment later, Lin Keining brought the household hot pot into the living room. She plugged it in with practiced ease, then laid out the washed ingredients on the table. Hot pot was a beloved cooking method among Huashu people because it was simple and could easily be made lavish. Zhang Yi ate the familiar hot pot, the girls' cheerful laughter ringing like silver bells as they chatted. Yet Zhang Yi remained somewhat distracted, unable to shake the dream from his mind. Seeing this, Fan Yuqing pouted slightly, displeased. Zhang Yi, what's wrong with you today? Are you sick? You've been so distracted. Zhang Yi looked up and quickly replied, No, I just... He paused for a moment before slowly saying, I just had a very strange dream. A strange dream? How strange? Lin Keining asked curiously. Fan Yuqing rolled her eyes. You're something else. You can even get obsessed over a dream. Zhang Yi hesitated before saying, the dream was very long, like several years had passed. In it, I met many people and experienced countless events. It felt so real, as if I had truly lived in that world. Lin Keining nibbled on her chopsticks and said, most of us have felt that way. Waking from a dream and suddenly unable to tell what's real and what's not. That usually goes away after splashing some water on your face. Give it a little while. Fan Yuqing giggled softly. It's like Xuanzhou's dream of the butterfly, right? She turned to look at Zhang Yi, her large eyes brimming with curiosity. Was I in your dream? What did I look like? Tell me. Zhang Yi rolled his eyes upward, deep in thought. But soon, his heart gave a start. Because the Fan Yuqing in his dream. Forget it, better not mention it. Saying anything would surely lead to trouble. You were absolutely wonderful. We were deeply in love, married, and living together. As he spoke, Zhang Yi couldn't help but recall the dream's contents. I dreamt of the apocalypse. The entire world was buried under an endless blizzard, freezing countless people to death. We were all desperately struggling to survive. Lin Keining exclaimed excitedly, the apocalypse? That's fascinating. I see stuff like that all the time on short videos. Tell me more, what exactly happened? Girls' curiosity about gossip was always particularly strong, and they were especially eager to pry into the deepest secrets of others' hearts. Zhang Yi felt his memory was unusually hazy and could only give a rough account. The later parts, however, weren't quite suitable for sharing. So he projected Fan Yuqing and Lin Keining onto the other girls in his dream and gave them a simplified version. After listening, both girls burst into laughter. They found the dream utterly fascinating. If it could be written down, it would surely make for an intriguing novel. Zhang Yi merely smiled, lowered his head to continue eating, and tried his best to put the matter out of his mind. It was just a dream after all, no need to take it too seriously. After lunch, Zhang Yi and the others tidied up the trash, preparing to head to the cinema that afternoon to catch a newly released movie. The elevator stopped on the 18th floor. The doors opened, and a woman with long hair entered. She wore a black turtleneck sweater and black-rimmed glasses. Though her attire was modest, it couldn't conceal her perfect figure. The moment he saw her, Zhang Yi's heartbeat noticeably quickened. She appeared in his dreams too, Zhou Keir, a senior physician at Tianhai City First People's Hospital. In his dreams, she was his woman. Zhang Yi swallowed hard, wanting to say something but ultimately keeping his mouth shut. How could he take dream events seriously? Stepping outside the building, they spotted Auntie Len from the neighborhood committee wearing her red armband, lecturing a young couple walking their dog without a leash. Not far away, security guard Uncle Yu stood with his hands behind his back, smiling as he watched a few elderly men playing chess in the fitness area. Everything from the dream now seemed like a distant fantasy. Zhang Yi walked forward in a daze, feeling the gap between dream and reality widening. Reason told him this was the real world, yet an overwhelming urge tugged at him, pulling him toward that snow-covered realm. Fan Yuqing and Lin Keining's laughter filled Zhang Yi's ears, but he heard none of it. Zhang Yi, what's wrong? Fan Yuqing approached, tiptoeing to touch his forehead, then her own. No fever. But you've been so distracted today. Zhang Yi froze for a moment before smiling. I was still thinking about that dream I had last night. It felt so real, it made me feel. It made him feel like it wasn't just a dream. And now, everything felt as beautiful as a dream. This sudden thought startled Zhang Yi. But wasn't everything before him just as wonderful? In Tianhai City, he owned a 140 square meter 3-bedroom apartment, drove a BBA luxury sedan worth 200,000 or 300,000 yuan, and had a sweet, adorable fiancée. Life here was happy and warm. The world in his dream, however, was cold and cruel. So why did he keep immersing himself in that dream world, unable to break free? Fang Yuqing gazed into Zhang Yi's eyes and asked gently, "So what do you think, is it better here, or in the dream?" Zhang Yi looked at Fang Yuqing and smiled without hesitation. "Of course it's better here." There was no need for hesitation. Any normal person faced with the choice would pick living here. Exactly. Since this place is better, there's no need to overthink it, just live well here. Fang Yuqing took Zhang Yi's hand and ran forward with a smile. Spring blossoms bloomed, gentle breezes blew, and the park near the residential area was lush with green grass. Many people walked their pets here, everything looking beautiful. Brother Zhang Yi, it's all an illusion. Wake up. Remember, you are Zhang Yi, the chaos of the Jiangnan region, Yang Xinxin's beloved big brother. A distant voice echoed from the sky, reverberating violently within Zhang Yi's mind. The next moment, he snapped his eyes open. Everything before him returned to its former state. Gone were the pristine white ceiling, the gentle and adorable Fang Yuqing, the friendly neighbors, and the warm, spring-like Yuelu neighborhood. Zhang Yi stared blankly ahead. Only a young monk stood there, looking at him with surprise and regret. Zhang Yi suddenly felt a chill on his face. Without realizing it, tears had welled up and spilled down his cheeks. Everything felt like a dream, an illusion. Even knowing it was all false, the experience remained unforgettable. The undertaker said, "Amitabha. I never imagined you possessed such steadfast resolve, lay devotee. It seems you have a karmic connection with our Buddhist faith." The undertaker remarked with deep emotion. The six dusts of perception could drag people into illusory realms, showing them the most beautiful worlds and causing them to become utterly lost within. Even when they realized it was an illusion, they wouldn't want to wake up. Yet Zhang Yi had actually escaped the illusion. This couldn't help but deeply impress the undertaker. Zhang Yi said nothing, but his heart was filled with boundless emotion. Where did he find such remarkable composure to awaken from the splendid illusions woven within his own mind? Yet, through his exchange with the Snow Mountain Eagle, he had learned of the undertaker's abilities. He had long been guarding against this very tactic. Thus, before entering the Great Snow Mountain, he had instructed Yang Xinxin to shoot him with an arrow. Rule's category abilities were coercive and absolute. The arrow's rule would only activate once Zhang Yi was trapped within the illusion. Through absolute power, it forcibly brought Zhang Yi back to reality. Within the dream, Yang Xinxin was absent, yet Zhang Yi could never forget her. Thus, the dream shattered, compelling him back to the real world. He lifted his head to meet the undertaker's gaze and murmured softly, "Thank you for letting me see everything. Though it was all false, it helped me mend years of regret." To experience such a beautiful dream, was that not a form of happiness? The next moment, Zhang Yi's tone turned icy. "But I won't let your attack against me go unanswered." The undertaker frowned. "I only sought to seal you temporarily. I know you've long been secretly colluding with Luozhua." Zhang Yi nodded. "Good to know. Then I have nothing more to say." After finishing his words, he didn't rush to act. Instead, he beckoned to the side. From Muyan's shadow space, a woman slowly emerged. A woman with flowing hair, a perfect figure, radiating maternal warmth, gentle and beautiful. When the undertaker saw her, his eyes instantly lit up. She was Lu Ruyan. The woman who had enlightened the undertaker. The woman who had offered him the most primal comfort with her warm, soft embrace. It was precisely because she helped the undertaker become a true man that he gained the confidence to lead the Sangha Temple's army into the depths of the demon abyss without hesitation. Yet the undertaker couldn't understand why the woman he cherished would appear here, by Zhang Yi's side. Regardless, his heart brimmed with confidence and pride. He believed this woman had completely surrendered to him. Through their countless exchanges, he sensed her complete submission, her entire being becoming his possession. The undertaker beckoned to Lu Ruyan. Without further words, he uttered only one syllable. "Come." Lu Ruyan gazed at the undertaker, her eyes brimming with tender affection, as if expressing the anguish of longing after days apart. Her enchanting figure swayed like willows in the wind. It was this voluptuous, supple, and fiery body that had granted the Undertaker endless pleasure night after night. Zhang Yi smiled at that moment. He merely glanced at Lu Ruyan before slowly raising his arm. Come. Lu Ruyan's gaze immediately shifted to Zhang Yi. Without hesitation, she walked to his side and nestled into his embrace like a small, dependent bird. For the first time, shock and bewilderment flashed across the Undertaker's face. He staggered back several steps, his face ashen, unable to believe what his eyes were witnessing. Surely, hadn't he already conquered this woman? Hadn't she become his possession, deeply in love with him, utterly captivated by his power and profound knowledge? Then why, right before his eyes, did she throw herself into another man's embrace? Zhang Yi held Lu Ruyan close, kneading her body forcefully in front of the burial master, his face twisted into a smug, mocking grin. Do you still like this gift I gave you? Forgot to mention, she's a woman I found. Whatever I tell her to do, she does. Oh, and did you think she'd fallen in love with you, that's why she'd willingly give you everything? Did she gaze at you with adoration, call you master, making you think you had her completely under your thumb? Let me make this crystal clear, she served no fewer than 1,000 men in Blizzard City. It's just her job. Zhang Yi's words were utterly calm, yet each one struck like a sledgehammer, pounding relentlessly into the Undertaker's heart. He had lived over 20 years without ever experiencing romantic love. Lu Ruyan was his first woman, his initiator. She had shown this young man the pleasures of manhood, making him fall deeply, irrevocably in love with her. But now, Zhang Yi was telling him that his beloved was merely a prostitute who did her job for money. The burial master's pride was utterly shattered in that instant. His dignity as a man, his confidence as the Undertaker of the Tantra, Zhang Yi was grinding them into the ground with frenzied cruelty. Pfft! Rage overwhelmed him, and a mouthful of blood erupted from his lips. He raised a finger, his eyes burning with demonic hatred. You! Unforgivable!